We come now to our time of confession as we prepare our hearts for confession. This is our exhortation, and it comes from 1 Timothy chapter 5, verse 1, and then I'm going to skip down to verse 17. Do not rebuke an older man, but encourage him as you would a father, younger men as brothers, older women as mothers, younger women as sisters, in all purity. Let the elders who rule well be considered worthy of double honor, especially those who labor in preaching and teaching. So Paul begins this passage in this chapter in 1 Timothy, teaching Timothy about how to treat people in the church with respect, purity, and familial affection. Older men are to be honored as fathers, older women as mothers, younger men as brothers, and younger women as sisters. This is the household of God, and Paul is describing what that household culture should look like, a culture of honor. This connects directly to the fifth commandment, which is honor your father and your mother, that your days may be long in the land that the Lord your God is giving you, from Exodus. That commandment isn't just about children obeying parents. While of course it's obviously about that, it's also about how God's people relate to all authority he has placed over them. The Westminster Larger Catechism talks about this and explains this further. I'll quote it here. By father and mother in the fifth commandment are meant not only natural parents, but all superiors in age and gifts, and especially such as, by God's ordinance, are over us in place of authority, whether in family, church, or commonwealth. In the same way that God ordained marriage to be a profound and mysterious picture of the gospel that shapes our view of him, he has also commanded honor to parents in a way that is foundational for all of society. And so honor is a soil where blessings grow, and dishonor is a seedbed of chaos. We shouldn't be surprised that our culture that is in chaos in so many ways despises honor. We live in an age where humility is mocked and submission is the chief sin against the spirit of the age of independence and individualism. Marxism preaches that every authority is an oppressor to be overthrown. And feminism is simply Marxism aimed at causing half of humanity to despise their God-given identity, to throw off the shackles of the so-called oppressive patriarchy. But Scripture calls us to clothe ourselves with humility in 1 Peter 5. And in Hebrews 13, we're commanded to obey our leaders and submit to them, for they keep watch over our souls. This posture of honor and submission begins in our homes, with how we speak about and respond to our parents. And it should extend to the household of faith, especially towards elders and pastors. When children see their father and mother speak respectfully of pastors, pray for them, and defer to them, they're learning what it means to live under authority. That is a beautiful and life-giving lesson that our children desperately need to learn if we hope for it to go well for them in the land. But let's be honest. Our tendency, especially in Reform circles, is to get excited about theology and about controversies. We love to talk about the latest debates and to critique other pastors, movements, and denominations. We treat pastors like Pokemon cards or baseball stats, collecting our favorites, comparing one to another, arguing about who's the better preacher or who's more faithful. But this isn't reverence or honor. It's arrogance. It's not humility. It's pride that we dress up as discernment or as some deep theological commitment. Paul says, again here in 1 Timothy 5:17, that those who rule well, especially those who labor in preaching and teaching, are worthy of double honor, not double criticism. And verse 19 warns, just after this, do not admit a charge against an elder except on the evidence of 2 or 3 witnesses. In other words, we need to be very, very careful and very humble before ever joining criticism of pastors or elders. God takes this seriously. So when you hear someone pick apart a pastor or his ministry, a great response might be something like, do you think that's a respectful way to talk about a minister of the gospel? Be a great response. I was reminded recently of this at our Athanasius Presbytery meeting that happened last week. I watched the examination of a pastoral candidate, and it was deeply humbling to me. The depth of biblical and theological knowledge that was displayed was frankly staggering. I've been serving as a ruling elder now for about 4.5 years, and I can tell you it would take me many, many, many years of intense study to be prepared to pass that exam. It was no walk in the park, and it was incredibly humbling to see the kind of preparation that that man underwent in order to be prepared for that examination. And yet these men willingly pour themselves into study and preparation for ministry, not for fame or fortune, but for the privilege of shepherding God's people. And what's their reward? A life of stress, heartache, and constant criticism from ungrateful sinners, people like us. And yet they keep going. They preach, they pray, they visit the flock, they counsel the hurting, and they do it all for the glory of God and the good of his flock. And so my exhortation this morning to you is simple. Be grateful for your elders, especially our pastors. Pray for them. Thank God for them. Show visible, vocal honor toward them. Let your children see that you are under authority, that you refuse to speak ill of your pastors or of any pastor for that matter. It will be good for your soul, and it will be good for your home.